Hey everyone, it's Joe here from Living to Learn. Thanks for pressing that button and joining me on what is going to be an overview of what has become my favourite woods knife. This is the Living to Learn collaboration with Davy Crawford from BROC Knives. The knife was designed by the four guys off the channel just to be a kind of a show of what we were trying to do and the friendship we have formed from the YouTube channel and behind the scenes, and a way of commemorating that. And we felt that between the four of us we could make a knife that we felt the market was missing. And Davey, I don't know whether he's happy he did or not, but stepped up to the plate and decided to try and make a drawing on paper become steel. So straight off the bat, we'll just run through some technical specifications. It is a 6-inch blade, which is most of our preferred cutting type blades. It's a 4 3/4 inch handle, which gives you nearly a foot of 01 goodness. It is 01 tool steel and it's treated at 58 HRC is the hardness, and for reasons I'll get into now in a minute. It is a 5mm full tanged 90-degree spined wood grenade, French trade style for reasons I have mentioned in other videos, but I'll get in here. This particular one comes with micarta handles and orange liners. But the fact that Davey has agreed to make these in limited runs of 4 or 5, he is allowed for the full customization that Davey offers on all his knives. So you can take the sheath here, which is lovely. I think Davey makes some of the best sheaths in the business. It comes with the L12 logo on the front and the L12 community logo and Davey's logo up top. But you do have the option of adding fire steel loops and anything else. You can have it scout carry, you can have it low carry with a dangler, without a dangler, so on. He offers that on that particular sheet, and he also offers the full customization range that he does on this too. Should you not decide to have these pins, or you want fancier handles or wooden handles, he can do that for you, no problem. The reason why I went with micarta and the way the handle is set up, I'll explain that now in a minute. So when we first sat down, we decided to design a knife that we needed to do 3 things. We all carry an S-Mug trio. Well, the 4 guys who designed the knife carry an S-Mug trios. So we didn't need a fine carver and stuff like that. We found that we'd done very little fine carving in the woods, and that when we needed to do fine carving, like spoons and traps and stuff, we were able to do it with bigger blades as well. So we decided we wanted to make a new camp knife, a new mid-range kind of heavy duty 1-tool option belt knife, and this is where this came from. And in the words of Sal Glesser from Spyderco, who's probably one of my favourite knife designers, I'm going to talk about how we designed it. And we designed this knife, like Sal Glesser, from the edge back, because the edge is the business end, it is the engine, it's the rifle scope, it's the firing pin of a knife. So we decided that it needed to do at least 3 things well. You know, a knife is capable, you can adapt it to anything, but we needed it to do the 3 tasks we find that ourselves we do out in the woods the most, which is wood processing. It is like batoning, kindling making, feather sticking, square notching if we decide we want to maybe build a trap or a pot hanger or stuff like that. So it had to hit those 3 or 4 things and hit them really well. So the first thing we ran with was a 12.5 degree Scandi grind. And the reason why it's 12 degree is because when you have a 5mm thick knife like this, that you lose, unless you have really high shoulders, you lose slicing capability. You know, there's a reason why chef knives and stuff are really thin for slicing, but we were not designing a chef knife, we're designing a woods knife. So in order to counteract that with the 5mm thick and the low Scandi, 12.5mm is where we had to be. So this thing, will I slice my ruler up? Yeah, sure, why not? This thing can still slice like a champ. Next time, Joe, get a bit of wood. But it can do the job, and it does the job very well. And that's why it's set at this particular angle. The reason why it is low is some of you may have seen my other battening video, but I talk a lot in that video about how shoulders affect wood processing, especially batoning. The higher your shoulders, the longer your edge is in contact with the timber while you're driving it through. So 12.5 degree low shoulder grind allows the baton, again we can try use my ruler, that when your edge goes through it you can see instantly there that my edge is only in contact for at least one strike of the baton. Not 2 or 3 strikes to get the shoulder in, just one strike. Yeah. Nice demonstration, Joe. There you can see. One strike, your edge is safe. So moving on from that, we said, right, that's cool, that's the batoning edge sorted. What's after batoning? Well, it's feather sticking. So this is why we decided to leave this completely flat, because when you have a recurve blade, which is also fine for feather sticking, I'm not saying one, it's harder to sharpen, and two, the great thing about a recurve, the recurve is designed is to draw stuff up into it. When you slice, it pulls stuff up to the middle of the blade. Whereas we found we all feather sticked completely different ways, and especially me, I prefer flat blades. So this one allows you full 4 inches of slicing for your feather sticks, this way and that way. And the fact that it's not a recurve allows you to control where you want your feathers to go, because if you have a belly, they will go with whatever side of that belly it hits. So you're able to just this way, want your curls to go that way, you can slice what you want. So that kind of took care of feather sticking, gave us a nice big surface to choke up on, gives us a huge 4.5 inch surface to baton with. Again, in my batoning video, I talk about how I would never baton anything that's more than half the size of the blade. But if you wanted to, you can push this all the way out to 4 inches and still have a good 2 inches of tip left to work with, should you have to wail on the tip. So after feather sticking, we decided that it needed to be able to process kindling, and this leads me on to the tip. This ain't your needle nose, it's not a precision scalpel. Yes, it will take splinters out, and you know, you're not defending your forest from the Argentinians, but it can do that. But it was designed to be super strong for the purpose of if you have to split smaller kindling with your twists. So you can drive, you can take your kindling, stab it down, twist, stab, twist. And it's a nice, safe way to process smaller kindling, and that's why that tip is designed to be as strong as it can be. Next was chopping, and we decided to go with the full sweep here rather than a sharp Puko type sweep or a long hunter type sweep that you do see on some knives. Most of the chopping of a knife is done in the belly. So when the belly is narrow, you end up using this part here, and you're not getting the full chromatic of the effect of a blade, because the energy of a blade when chopping travels down through it like this in a kind of a lateral motion. So you want to get the full fulcrum of that blade, so that when you strike that, the energy is now traveling down through this large swedge of chip here. So we went with the biggest sweep that Davey could do, and he refined this sweep himself, and it's absolutely fantastic. This thing chops like a beast. And because of the 12.5 degree low thing, it kind of was a nice payoff, trade-off, that we didn't have to remove a lot of stock. When you put high shoulders on your blade, high Scandi grinds on your blade, or a hollow grind or a saber grind, you end up removing an awful lot of this stock. So to get the weight to make this an effective chopper, we would have had to make it 7 inches, possibly 8 inches. But because all that stock is still there, the weight is all down here in the blade, and it allows us to keep it in a nice compact package. And this knife is well balanced with the handle and the micarta. Those that have held it, and I brought it to the last L2L camp, a couple of guys held it, and they can tell you this thing disappears in your hand. It looks a lot heavier than it behaves, and that's thanks to Davey there. He really helped dial this in. So moving on from there and its chopping capabilities, we move to the handle. The handle is designed to be kind of as ergonomic as possible, but we needed it to be as indestructible as possible. As I find that most knives fail is because you've overstriked the handle, or you've dropped the handle, you've hit the handle when you shouldn't have hit the handle. So bar the fact that it's micarta, which I find is probably one of the strongest handle materials you can get, it is also, there's a section in here that's milled out by water jet. I'll talk why these blades are water jetted in a minute. That is milled out in here to allow for balance, because micarta in itself is very heavy. But it also allows Davey to epoxy these scales together, not just to the tang, but also to each other. These, although they look like pins, are actually Corby bolts. And for those that don't know what Corby bolts are, they're kind of like Chicago screws. So you can countersink the scales, You twist these in together from both sides, and then you can sand them smooth and you get that lovely finish there. So not only are you going with the strength of micarta, you've got a chemical bond with the epoxy, and you got a mechanical bond with the Corby bolts. So this handle is as over-engineered and as robust as a handle can be made. Kind of like the whole knife when you think about it. But also, because the influence of guys on the page and are the guys who helped design it, is there's 2 lanyard holes, and they're offset for reasons I'll get into now. But the reason why there is 2 is to allow for a bit of shock cord or a bit of paracord a la Chris Tanner style to get up in here and use it like a finger guard, so it allows you to be a little more nimble with your blade. You can do some finer work, and you can control the blade and the movements of the blade by putting in a bit of shock cord or a tight bit of paracord here, and allow you to get a bit more fine and dexterous with that bit of security. The reason why they are offset is to allow you to lash it. For those of us who like to go Rambo and protect the forest from the Argentinians, is to lash it to a spear or a stick, or tie it to a tree for shaving purpose, smoke shaving purposes and stuff like that. So they are offset, and you can see now that the handle is kind of a Coke bottle shaped. The guys on the page, or the guys that designed the knife, myself included, could only get so far with paper, and all credit where it's due to Davey. He refined this handle, and it's probably one of the nicest handles I have ever felt. I thought we may have pushed the limits too far by designing a handle of this particular shape, but Davey got the balance absolutely perfect. The balance is up and around here where you need it to be, just on the forward front finger, so you got that kind of dexterity. This is a very, very nimble knife, but the Coke bottle and flared pommel really lend to comfortability. I've size 9 hands, and if you're buying a knife off Davey, you can send them like a custom maker your measurement from knuckle to knuckle, and you can adjust the handle accordingly to where you need it to be. But I'm size 9, so that's a good reference there. You can choke back on it for chopping, use that full sweep like I was talking about. And I mean, we beat this handle to within an inch of its life there the other day. We wailed on it. I put it into a 5.5 inch lump of timber. I was only left with about that much tip. You can see kind of damages. This actually broke more batons than anything. But then I had to wail on the tip, then I had to wail on the handle, then I had to wail on the tip, and I had to wail on the handle, and I had to wail on the tip to get it through the piece of timber. Then also, to test the tip, we put it into a stump and we drove it in from here like it was a nail to affect planing of feather sticks. So you can draw your feather stick across like that as you work the tree. And there you go. That is HOR. That is about all I can tell you in minute detail. And the next thing I'll talk about is Davy Crawford himself. This was a brave undertaking. I'm, bar the 3 guys on the page, I am absolutely OCD about my blades, down to Rockwell hardness, down to heat treat duration, down to tempering. Like, fair play to Davy, because he spent many a night, and this is one thing that you will get with BROC knives, is excellent customer service. I'm not saying that he's the only one that offers excellent customer service. I'm just saying, if you choose to go down his road, that you will get excellent customer service. There was many a midnight 1 a.m. phone call talking about edge geometry, heat treat. We really wanted to dial this in with the brand of O1 steel that Davy uses. So a batch, Davy would be on the phone to me putting a batch into the kiln. I can't disclose what it's heat treated at or how long it's heat treated at, because they are trade secrets. But we'd be waiting 90 minutes, an hour. He'd call me back, tell me what it's at. I'd say that's too soft, that's too hard. This had to be 58 on the nose, and it was 57.6, no good. 58.1, no good. 58 on the nose. And Davy is one of the rare makers that has his own Rockwell tester, and he can dial this in, and he did dial this in perfectly. He got the 12.5 degree spot on. Absolutely, this thing is sliced fruit and everything, and he did go above and beyond the call. Now, some people may argue, you may have heard earlier on in the video, I said that these are water jetted. It's water jetting to remove stock here, and they're out. Now, water jetting is seen as kind of a cop out on some people's house. Well, it's not handmade, it's not hand forged, it's not hand this, it's not hand that. And that is true. It's not. It's water jetted. But it's water jetted to help keep costs down. I am not a millionaire. The guys who designed the knife are not millionaires, and we can't be rocking out. If you wanted 12 inches of O1 steel, hand forged, and all one, production runs would become very, very scarce. In fact, almost impossible. And two, it would drive the price of the knife into unaffordable brackets. And at the time, John Bishop asked the question, what happens if one of our friends would like to buy one of these knives? How are we going to keep it cheap? And water jetting is how you do that. One, it allows to speed up the production process. Two, you're getting a precision, a CNC'd precision blade. So your blade will look exactly like the next blade, bar the custom finishes and stuff like that. I mean, not to take away from any knife maker, just because the shape of the blade is water jetted, it still needs to be heat treated, it still needs to be shaped, it still needs to be ground, it still needs to be tempered, it still needs to be epoxied, and 101 other things that comes with making a knife. But these are water jetted. One, for the precision aspect of it all, because it is a lot of steel, and to maximize the amount of blades we could get from a piece of steel to make the knife cheaper for us four guys. But it also means that this knife comes to the market at a very affordable price, a price that Davey, I don't know how he actually does it, but you can check out all the pricing and the full spec of customization options and stuff like that at brockknives.com. So there you go, guys. There is the Horseman, fully field tested, Living to Learn approved, Joe approved, Mark Price approved, definitely Mark Price approved, John Bishop and Paddy Carroll approved. Buy, don't buy, but check out brockknives.com. He's a fantastic maker. I'm sure you may find something there to suit your needs, whether it be this or an absolutely beautiful knife from his range. He's a fantastic range and a fantastic guy. And thank you, Davey, for making this possible. It means a lot to the four guys off the page. So, Joe from Living to Learn, out.